Hello. During today's task, we're going to learn about trip time messages and how to set them up. Trip time messages will be pop-ups that will show on the trip request form if a requester is trying to leave or return from their trip during times that maybe vehicles and drivers are not going to be available. So as transportation, you can set up trip time messages to inform that requester that that's not a good time for their trip to leave or return. So in my example here on my request form, I have submitted that I would like to leave on my trip at 7 a.m. and return at 12 noon. But notice that I get a pop-up that field trips must leave after 7:30 a.m. due to morning routes. So as the requester, it's going to give me this message, and I'm going to then adjust my time, hopefully, and make it so that I'm leaving after those morning routes, after the buses are back due to morning routes. Now, trip time messages will only be informative. They're not going to prevent me from submitting this request. And but I do have a heads up about this information and about the restrictions here that field trips must leave after 7:30. I can choose to go ahead and submit my trip, even asking to leave at 7, but I have been told that they must leave after 7:30, so if this trip request is denied, it shouldn't be too much of a surprise to me that it has been denied due to the time that I'm wanting to leave. So let's look at how do we set up trip time messages. I'm going to scroll up to the Setup Tables tab, and the trip time message is here on the left. Click on that and it'll open up my table for trip time messages. Notice that there is an embedded training video, so you can always take a look at that down the road if you need a little refresher or reminder about trip time messages and how to set them up. This table works just like the rest of them that we have done. We're going to create a new trip time message by clicking on this button here. Your time range that you select is chosen by clicking on the little clock icons. Let's do an afternoon route time. So let's say that our afternoon routes are unavailable. They need to be back and not come back to school during our afternoon route. So we're going to set it up between 2:30 and 4, and whatever your message is, of course, it's completely customizable to whatever you might like this message to be. So maybe we'll put this afternoon route, please return to school before 2:30 p.m. And you can put anything in here. Maybe we would want to add this request, perhaps, will be denied if you cannot be back to school before 2:30. You can say anything in the message. Again, it's just a notification. You can select which type of trip that this needs to show up on, to display on. Sometimes athletics, have a little more leeway, and because we know that those games are scheduled just about any time, so you can select which types of requests you want this message to display on. So maybe we would just pick those two types of trips and submit that. So now if we try to submit a trip request that's coming back between 2:30 and 4, that message will pop up on the request form, letting me know as a requester this trip is not going to be accepted because I've got to be back before 2:30. So that's how you set up your trip time messages. You can go ahead and work on those today, and once you have completed that, you can mark this task done. Thank you.